Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Eden Road podcast, the last one covering the Euros. We're recording this on Tuesday afternoon, 2 days after England lost in the Euros final against Spain. You can probably tell from my voice that I probably still haven't fully recovered from it yet. Craig pointed that out just before we started recording. We were going to run over what happened in the game. I think we still will, just because I think there's a few things that we probably should say with regards to the game. But obviously the news broke about half an hour before we started recording, half an hour, 45 minutes, that Gareth Southgate has left the England manager role. So with that being recent news, I think we should probably spend most of the podcast talking about Southgate's tenure, who takes over at England. There's a few people in the running, including Brentford's very own Lee Carsley. So we'll touch on that as well. And yeah, we'll try to make light of a pretty terrible 2 days, especially for people that are quite invested in England. And yeah, Craig, how are we doing, mate?
I don't really think there's many words you can use to sum up the emotions that we all feel. But not surprised about Southgate, but I know that we'll move on to that.
Yeah. Dan, how are we doing? Different setting for you, mate. Looking very smart.
Yeah, booked a meeting room at work during my lunch break. I'm all right. I mean, made us all look a bit stupid for thinking England would win the other day, I suppose.
Yeah, we did. Callum, still in Germany, mate. How's it going?
Last day, yes, all well. The clean-up operation has started here, so yes, I'll be glad to get back to London this evening and focus on club football. But yeah, all good, boys, all good.
Good stuff. Just before we get going, guys, remember to drop a comment down below with your thoughts about the result the other day. Subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify channels, and also give us a follow on our socials. Listen, boys, Brentford's back in 3 weeks, so we've got something to be positive about. Craig's going to Benfica next week, so we'll talk about that a little bit. And yeah, the Brentford content will start coming soon. We'll get over this. We promise we will. Let's talk about the game a little bit. I think the first half, I thought we handled their threats really well. Callum, I want to come to you first. Just your initial reaction to it, the second half, what happened.
Yeah.
Just go for it, mate. Go for it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, just such a poor start. I mean, we did everything right tactically in the first half. I was with a few boys out there, and they were getting frustrated with how we were allowing Spain to have the ball. And I just said, look, let them have the ball. That's what they're good at. We're doing a very good job here at keeping them quiet. And really, they didn't have any clear-cut, chances at all. I mean, of course, we didn't, but we were keeping them quiet. But I don't know what happened in that first 2 minutes. There was space within, the back line, space within the midfield as well. And that, as soon as you give them opportunity, Spain, they're so quick on the ball. And that's exactly what happened. It was a simple move and something that I don't expect from Kyle Walker. It was his side for both goals. And for a player of that caliber, I just don't expect that from him. And it was incredibly frustrating that, we did such a good job in the first half that it was, I wouldn't say tarnished, but you could say tarnished. It was tarnished in the first few minutes, and then we were on the back foot. But frustrating. That is all I can say, Mike. Frustrating. And although we did score, it wasn't to be in the end, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think after the goal went in, Spain really could have been 4-0 up by the time Palmer gets the equaliser. I think Olmo has a good chance that he's probably scored already in the tournament. Morata dinks it over Pickford, gets it slightly wrong, and Stones is able to make the clearance. But the big one for me was that Lamine Yamal chance when it really opens up for him and he shoots straight at Pickford. So, I mean, England, did we deserve to get that equaliser? There's question marks over that. The game probably should have been gone by the time Palmer even gets that goal. But just going back to you first, Callum, when Palmer scores, it's another one of those moments. What was the scenes when Palmer gets that goal?
Honestly, bodies flying around everywhere. It was absolutely fantastic. Everyone coming together as one. That's what I love about watching England, is that everyone's there to watch the football and we all come together as one. And it was fantastic. Everyone grabbing each other, the enthusiasm, everything. It was incredible. And, we believed that we had a spell after that for 5 minutes where we actually had Spain on the back foot. But really, really impressive, atmosphere from beginning to end from the England fans, and right after the Palmer goal as well. And Yeah, it was pandemonium, I would say. Pandemonium was the right word. And a lot of Brentford fans in my area as well, so it was really good to see them as well. We had a good contingent there. There was a flag that was I noticed as well, which a few of the boys from where I live had put up on the surrounding area by the stadium. So that got quite a lot of publicity. So, but yeah, no, Palmer celebration is fantastic and one that I'll remember for a while for sure.
Good stuff. I think we can kind of curtail the England chat there because, or at least the chat about the final. I think it was what it was. The best team won the tournament, and they were the best team. We said it in our previews that Spain had been the best team in this competition by a country mile. And, I think a few people have said football won because Spain were just so dominant and it could have been more. And they were so much better than us. And it's just a shame. I'm personally more gutted for Southgate than I am for the result, just because it was his last chance, and now we know. I think the writing was on the wall. We've been saying it all tournament that regardless of what happened in the final, regardless of the outcome of this tournament, it would be time for Southgate to go, and it would be time for that refresh and someone new in charge to have a go. He's had 4 attempts at this now, and he's gotten us really far. But Spain was so much better in most departments, so much better. But just before we do talk about Southgate in particular, I'll come to you, Dan, and then we'll do one more in the game, Craig. How much better do you think Spain's players are individually than ours, Dan? Do you think it's a big margin? Yeah.
They're not, because before the tournament, it says it all. I mean, the favourites before the tournament were us, France, and maybe Portugal. Spain were probably, 5th or 6th on everyone's lists. And obviously, I mean, you look at their team, a lot of them haven't even reached their peak yet. If we think they're very good now, wait until you see Williams and Yamal in a few years' time. I mean, we've said it all along. Individually, we probably have the best team in the Premier League, the best team in Spain, the best team in Germany, the best players, sorry. And just as a team, we don't play the right way to get the best out of them. They play differently to how they do to their club. And that is the only thing that Southgate he'll probably even admit that he's not tactically at the level of, the managers that these players are managed by at their club.
Craig, let's talk about Harry Kane. I think that will be the last point before we move on to the Southgate stuff. I watched all of his post-match. I watched all of the commentary and everything. It was fully immersed in that game, and I've listened to every single interview and all the reaction from it. But Kane, in his post-match, he looked particularly just defeated. I think he said, it's a missed opportunity. It's the second year in a row we've done this. But some of the fallout, I think Southgate said that Harry Kane was battling with an injury, which he hadn't said throughout the tournament. I think Kane's been saying consistently that he's been fit. Lineker said on his pod that he reckons his legs might have gone. I'm not sure that his legs have gone. Just, he scored 40 goals in the Bundesliga last season. I think maybe the injury was something that was holding him back, but he did not look as sharp throughout the tournament. And again, in the final, he had very little impact on the game. I think he had 1 touch in their box throughout the whole game. Yeah. Who is Kane's successor, Craig? I want to spin it as that for the next England manager that comes in. Do we think we'll see Craig in America in 2026 and Mexico and Canada, or do we think by that time his time at England might be up?
Well, I don't think I'll be there, but Kane might be. It depends, really. I think actually, if Harry Kane is fit, obviously. I mean, I don't exactly know how old he is now. How old is Harry Kane now?
30, but he's coming up on 31.
So, I mean, he'll be pushing 35 when we go to the next Euros, which will be here, but 32, 33 for the World Cup, maybe. But I think it really entirely depends on who the actual manager is, because we could see a completely different style of football. And if Harry Kane doesn't suit that style of football and the manager is bold enough and confident enough to tell Harry Kane that he doesn't suit it, but he can be a squad player, someone to bring on, then absolutely bring him. To say who could be the successor, of Harry Kane is beyond me. I don't think it's something that we could even call or predict at the moment, because it could be a completely different style of football. If we went for Let's say we went for an attacking style of football in which Spain played, we could see Ollie Watkins being that main
Morata.
nine. Exactly. So could see someone like Ollie Watkins being that main number 9, or going with a fluid front three. You know, it really depends on who the next England manager is. I couldn't tell you. If his legs have gone this tournament, in 2 years' time, I'm not too sure. I hope for his sake, it's not the end of kind of his England tournament career. But at the same time, if we need to freshen it up a little bit, then that's what we got to do.
Yeah, agreed. I think it will be interesting to see when the new manager comes in, when we hear about that. I think this is going to just be such a whirlwind week to be, or whirlwind couple of weeks to be an England fan. We've got Nations League qualifiers coming up in September, and then I think the World Cup qualifiers begin in March of 2025. So, I mean, with the Nations League games, there's not really that much layover. Like, they're going to have to make this decision pretty sharpish. And it's just going to be really interesting to see where it goes and who that Kane potential replacement could be, or whether he's got another tournament in him. I just feel like the argument that his legs might have gone. I'm not. How can you score that many goals in the Bundesliga for Bayern Munich and your legs be gone? I think it doesn't really. At Bayern Munich, he's got Sane, and he's got Gnabry, and he's got Coman, he's got all these runners behind him. That's why he's got all these goals. And we don't watch him every week, but I just don't think to say that his legs have gone is a little bit lazy, in my opinion. If he's fully fit, Harry Kane is still for me one of the best, if not the best striker in the world. But anyway, I digress. Let's move on to Southgate leaving. 102 games in charge for England. He's got to a semi-final in 2018, followed by a final in 2020/2021, followed by a quarter-final in Qatar, and then obviously a final on Sunday. So in terms of getting far in tournaments, he's flipped the script completely. It's been pretty grim to be an England fan. Not that I would know, because I'm not sort of part of the older generation, but before then, it's a lot of disappointment. And now in the last 4 tournaments, we've sort of gone into at least 3 of them thinking we can really do well in this tournament. So Dan, overall thoughts on the announcement of Southgate leaving? I've seen you put out a few interesting tweets already, so explain.
Yeah, I think firstly it's sad. I like the narrative of Southgate having been a player, having missed a penalty shootout, in '96, having been through all that and been a big part in all those years of hurt. And I like how he, when he first arrived, changed the belief. We're going into penalty shootouts now, confident. He's made it fun to watch England again. Not like visually in how we play, but just the feeling around it all is just much more fun again now. And, players want to be there. And it's sad that it's ended in the way it's ended. And I very much hope in 10 years' time that people actually look back and give him his credit, because obviously I think at the moment he's taking a lot of criticism. But if you look at it from further away, you've got to say he's done a very, very good job. And it's just a shame that it's ended this way. My only doubt is whether the replacement is going to be an upgrade, because if we go with an English manager, and I'm assuming Eddie Howe is still locked into Newcastle, so if it's an English manager that's not Eddie Howe, then I'm not convinced that the levels will be much above what they are now. And as we found out from even just the whole of my lifetime, it can be a lot worse than what it is now. So I think we need to be careful what we wish for, really.
Craig, thoughts on Southgate's tenure?
I mean, bar Sir Alf Ramsey, I mean, he's undeniably England's most successful manager. Getting us to back-to-back finals in the Euros, semi-finals, and quarter-finals of the World Cup. Realistically, when he came in to be the manager, none of us really expected that at the end of his tenure we would be having a conversation of being in those positions to possibly win a major European or World Cup competition, But yeah, it's a sour taste based on the results and the performances that we've had in this tournament, which has obviously painted an opinion of fans of what Gareth Southgate is and what Gareth Southgate has done during his time as England manager. Do I think he deserves the criticism? people pay their money to see the sport, and if it's not as good as people, like when you go to Brentford, if you're any fan of any team or you pay for anything and you don't feel like you're getting that level of entertainment or even just worth of money, do you know what I mean? People deserve to criticism, but it gets to a level where there needs to be a cap on what people are doing and what people are saying. He's still the most successful England manager we've had in recent history, and yeah, as Dan said, hopefully in time people will see that and give him his dues.
100%. I think that the criticism this tournament has turned sour because I think it has got personal with Southgate, but it has been the worst tournament of his four in charge in terms of the football that's been played and in terms of just how underwhelming it's been with the amount of expectation going into it. It was like, okay, we've got to the Euros final. Before the tournament, we were a lot of people's favourites to go in. We've got the best player in the Bundesliga. It seems like an argument that we've done like 100 times already, but it's so true. We've got the best player in the Bundesliga, the best player in the Premier League, the best player in La Liga. We've got Saka, we've got Rice, we've got all of these players, and it has been underwhelming. So I think he deserves a criticism. I get that it's gotten a little bit sour with the beers being thrown at him. And, you know, the memification of Southgate during this tournament has just gone to a new level in terms of like the AI stuff, the fucking life jackets when he's on the toilet or going to the bath. It's just gone a little bit crazy. But I want to talk about, do England need a culture change to suit the players that we've got? And then we'll kind of talk about the manager that could potentially come in. Because Dan, for me, like the future looks really, really good. We've got Palmer, who I think I said in the last episode, he's going to have a big part to play for England in the coming years. And he lit up this tournament and probably should have had more minutes. The goals that we scored when he was on the pitch compared to the goals we scored when he didn't, which was longer, much, much longer. We scored more. Mainoo's had a brilliant breakout tournament. Bellingham for me is England's future completely. That guy, you see his body language throughout the tournament. There was a moment in the Spain game when Bellingham tracks back, wins the ball off Yamal, goes into the bottom left corner of the pitch, and then kind of swivels his way out of a challenge, hands it back to Rice, and Rice just boots the ball clear straight to the edge of our penalty area. Nico Williams picks it up and they almost score. And Bellingham's body language after that was just like, why is this happening? He's got a mindset now that he's at Real Madrid. He was their player of the season. He's won the La Liga. He's won the Spanish Super Cup. He's probably like, he's in the shout for a Ballon d'Or. And I think his body language throughout the tournament just epitomizes he thinks he's better than what this England team have been in this tournament. I think he's right. So he's our future. We've got Saka, Gay, Rice, Wharton. Do England need, I think they do, but I'm going to ask you, Dan, do England need that culture change to play like a team like Spain do in terms of the high press and the possession-based football, and it's fast and it's direct? Do England need that with the players that they've got?
I definitely think we need a better coach who's able to coach these things tactically. Obviously, it's never going to be as easy because he only has a few weeks here and there with the national team, whoever is the manager, but we do need a better coach, I think, who can play a more similar way to how most of these players play at their club. I think behind the scenes, in terms of togetherness and everything else, Southgate is a standard. And we also need someone who can maintain that so we don't go back to some dark days we've had before. Because I think we've gone for people like Capello before, who tactically may have been a better manager. But, you know, behind the scenes, it just wasn't clicking at all. But that's why, I mean, someone like Jurgen Klopp, I think, would be perfect because when he was at Liverpool, he embraced Liverpool. You know, everyone loved him. He is the sort of guy that will, you know, embrace the environment he's in and become one of them. I just don't know if we can convince him or if we are even going to go there in terms of him being a German managing England. But I think that's the caliber of manager we need to move forward, and obviously he would be able to coach a high pressing style that some of the players know and most of them are used to.
Craig, what do you think in terms of, I think we'd all like to have Jurgen Klopp or we'd all like to have Pep Guardiola. I think those two would be, you know, the ideal, but with the managers and the candidates that have come out, it looks like, I think Poch is being considered, Carsley's being considered, Eddie Howe's being considered, and so is Graham Potter. Of those managers, and with light in the light of what we've just spoken about in terms of England need a better coach, but also someone who can come in and maintain the culture that Southgate's instilled in the squad. Who on that list gets you excited?
I don't think excited is the word I would use. If we're talking about culture, Carsley is the obvious choice based on the fact that he's an internal hire, where he's had his time with the youth teams and he's working his way through to be the England first team manager. That seems like the obvious culture hire. Between sort of Eddie Howe, Poch, and Graham Potter, you maybe kind of want to venture down the avenue of someone who has had more success with club football, and that obviously leaves the obvious answer of Poch. However, I don't really care. I'm not really bothered who the next England manager is. What they need to do is just release the shackles. When I spoke to my dad, pod favorite, he's said that, and he's spoken to his mates that the scenario that we are in is like when Uwe Rosler was the Brentford manager, and when Uwe was the manager, everyone could see we had a really good team in League One. All we needed to do is just let them go out there and do it. But we didn't quite do that with Rosler. He had a bit more of a defensive mindset and tried to catch teams on the counter. But then when Warburton came in, it was almost as if Warburton could see that we were a great team. We're full of great players and just said, go out there and do what you got to do. And then we go like 23 games unbeaten. We just go out there and play the football. It's attacking football. It's fun to watch. It's enjoyable. It gets the fans on their feet. We just need someone who is willing to let the players do what they do. We can say so many times we've got the best player in this league, in this league, in this league. But when the manager is the one who tries to kind of, it felt like shackle them into being a defensive team because he was a defender. We need someone who is willing to let them be them, do their thing, play their game. Now, we need a new culture, I don't think, but we need a new identity. We need to figure out a way of playing, attacking, exciting football. Football that will make fans stay until the end. Because if we can go to Wembley and the ground's half full after 75 minutes, it's because it's a bit dross. Half empty after 75 minutes. It's because the football's a bit dross. I mean, I know it sounds silly. I remember going and watch us play against, it might have even been Albania or something. It was like 4-0 up. And people are like, we're winning 4-0, but this is bloody boring. Like, it was just a bit dull, We need someone who's going to bring a bit of electricity, a bit of spark, a bit of excitement, and those four names just do not fill me with,
Just Poch not do anything for you, considering his record of developing English players. You got Harry Kane, Cole Palmer, Luke Shaw. His relationship with the Chelsea players this season after he left, all the messages on Instagram. So he's got that culture, I think. And every player that's been coached under Poch, like even the Spurs players, they all say how brilliant he is. I've seen interviews with Kyle Walker and Harry Kane saying he's such a great man manager. So in terms of the culture, I think he's probably got that ticked off. And you look at the football, I mean, Spurs in that era, they were one of the most exciting teams to watch in the Prem. Chelsea this season, even though they were complete fucking nut jobs and it was like they could win 4-0 one week and then lose 4-0 the next week, some of their games have been the most exciting to watch. Does Poch not do anything for you, Dan?
I'm not sure he's a true winner because, again,
it's true. He's never won anything in England.
He's associated with nearly doing it with Tottenham, but not quite. But I still think tactically he would be an upgrade on Gareth Southgate. He's also an Argentine. I'm not sure how I would feel about that either, because I think a German and an Argentine, they're probably our two, some of our rivals. But possibly. I think the FA probably want to appoint someone English. That's just the inkling I get. And I think it will be either Lee Carsley or Graham Potter, because Graham Potter's available. And I'm not super convinced by either of them, just because I've not seen Lee Carsley, manage a big team apart from Brentford. And obviously Graham Potter at Chelsea didn't work out too well, even in terms of him in the media. I don't think he was able to handle that pressure side of things. And obviously an England manager needs to be able to do that. I think it's very difficult. And I think I'm very cautious in this scenario, because literally since I was born, everyone's kind of underwhelmed. And Southgate's the best it's got. So I think that's why I'm so cautious about it, because we are just chronically underachieving as a nation. Like, how have we only ever won one major tournament in all these years? So it does just make me cautious.
I think it's a good point that you make as well about the England job and what comes with that. I think the two biggest jobs in England are the Man United job, and I think probably the England job is the bigger one. So that kind of does rule out someone like Potter, especially like, he's been turning down loads of these jobs, and the like one of the things that didn't work for him at Chelsea was just the magnitude of it and the scrutiny that he was under and the way he handled himself in presses. With England, that's amplified by like 100. So I think the Potter one would excite me the least. I think it's probably the most Gareth-esque appointment, despite him being a better tactician. 100%, the football the Brighton were playing, it took them a while to get there, but he probably is. He's a bit, he's a bit mild, and I don't know if I feel comfortable with just like kind of writing off an England manager because he's mild, but he's as mild as Southgate is. Let's talk about Lee Carsley, because as Brentford fans, we're in a unique position in that we're probably a small section of England fans that will know a bit more about Lee Carsley than most. He's been playing for he's been managing the under-21s, obviously took them to Euros triumph in the last tournament. And from watching snippets of the under-21s played, I did watch the final, but from watching snippets of the under-21s playing, he does get them playing really, really nice football. Whether he wants to take that job, I mean, he's never really been, even at Brentford, he took over when the basket case car crash that Marina Starkhuizen was, he took over then. And it was clear that, I think he said at points, he doesn't want to be in the job long term. And I think he agreed a contract to actually, at the start, stay until the end of the 2015-16 season. But Dean Smith obviously then came in shortly after that. But he won Manager of the Month in October 2015. I'm just reading now. 4 wins out of 5 matches for Brentford during then. That'd be a good quiz question if anyone can guess, or if anyone can tell me what those wins were and against who. But literally no idea. No idea. I forgot that even won Manager of the Month, but we know a bit more about him than most. Craig, what would you make of that appointment? Dan raises a good point in that the FA would definitely want to try and hire someone that is English. He's worked within the FA. It's the most obvious appointment, and it's the one that probably suits previous years the most, in that he's already been at the FA and he's managed the under-21s the same way that Gareth Southgate did.
Yeah, so he's been part of England for 4 years now. So he's been with the England under-20s, the England under-21s, and that would be obviously his next step on his managerial journey within the FA, would be to go into the men's team. Yeah, we're in a very unique standpoint here with 5 games, and it's one that I wouldn't be offended by it. I know that might be the wrong term to use, but I wouldn't be offended by it in the way that maybe some people would, because they're not too maybe familiar with his style of play or what he does. But I think it could work, but it might be one of those ones that takes a little bit of time to see it. But when you watch the under-21s play, and obviously they did win the Euros last year.
Yeah,
you can see that he's got his own ethic instilled in that team, where they were quite exciting to watch. They were very attacking, very fluid. And maybe if he can implement his own ethic into the first team and let them play their game and play the offensive football that would suit the players that we've got, it could well be the perfect hire. But until we see it, it's one of those ones which we'll never know. It makes sense to me that he is the the next England manager based on the fact that it's an internal hire. But I also understand why people wouldn't necessarily want it.
Yeah, for sure. I think we can speculate on who's going to be the next England manager, and there will be so much speculation in the coming weeks. I think the ideal we've already mentioned would be someone like a Klopp or a Guardiola, but I just think that might be wishful thinking. I think imagine if Guardiola was in charge of our national team. Jesus Christ, we'd go on that Spain 2008 to 2012 dominance era. But to round off this chat, boys, I just think it has to happen for England in the next few years. The talent that we have, and we've said it before this tournament, it had to happen in this tournament. But the talent that we have, if we get someone to come in with the right skill set that can get the best out of the best attacking players in the world, which doesn't sound like too much of a job for an elite manager. It makes sense. An elite manager comes in and he makes the best players even better players. It has to happen for England soon, Dan, does it not?
Yes, we're in a much better position than when Southgate was hired. We just need someone now. Everything behind the scenes is perfectly set up. The harmony in the squad, the togetherness, even the strategies we built around penalties and stuff, that all needs to stay. And we just need a manager now to progress just the actual tactical elements on the pitch. And then Southgate would have had a big part to play if we do eventually win something, because he has set those foundations. But yeah, I think we also need someone who's not scared to drop some of the big names too, because it's not about just fitting everyone in. It's about the best system and playing in the best way to bring the best out of players. And I wouldn't be afraid to bring certain players off the bench, because we still do have a very wide talent pool. These second and third choices are not bad players. So I just think we need someone to knit it all together, and hopefully we make the right decision. I mean, with Carsley, you can see just people coming for him. As soon as something goes wrong, people will come for him because he's not a big name. But his record at under 21 level is better than Southgate's, and we'll see what happens.
Gordon, 4 minutes the whole tournament, by the way. I forgot to mention that. 4 minutes for Anthony Gordon. And I know you don't like him, Craig, but I just thought that was criminal to not give him more minutes, being one of the best players in the Premier League this season. Final thoughts, Craig, on the tournament, on England, on the future. How do you think it looks?
So just 1 point, what Dan said, obviously Lee Carsley's success with the under-21s, obviously he won the Euros with them last year. He's got an incredible record with the under-21s. If you're interested, they've had 29 games. They've won 23 of them, drawn 1 and lost 5. A 79% win rate. That's fantastic with what he's done there. On the Euros itself, I think the squad itself was not utilised enough in the way in which it should be. We're one of the teams with the lowest number of players played during the entire tournament, as well as certain players not even playing at all or getting a stupidly small amount of minutes. And it's strange because we got to a final, yet I feel incredibly underwhelmed. We lost in the final and I feel incredibly underwhelmed. And I think that's based on the football that we played. I wanted to go into this tournament being excited, being thrilled. I didn't want to have to wait to go behind to be able to then start attacking teams. I'm incredibly grateful for these past 4 tournaments that Gareth Southgate has given us. I wish him nothing but success in what he does going forwards. I just hope that the next person that comes in can release those shackles, free the reins, and let the players do what they got to do.
And if they do what they got to do, what do you reckon? Trophies coming soon?
Well, to point out the obvious, the next Euros in 4 years, they're here.
Yeah.
They're in the UK. So it's a home tournament. That is an incredible opportunity for us to do it here in the UK. Bring it home, bring it here, do it here. It would be fantastic to go to the States and win it. maybe it's a little bit too soon, first international tournament for this new manager to come in and do something. But we know we've got the players for it. We know we've got the team for it. Let's just hope, fingers crossed, that this new manager can step in and do the right thing.
Perfect. I think that would be a good point to wrap up the podcast. We do have plans for before the season starts. I'm going to try and get some special guests on the Eden Road podcast before Brentford's season starts. It feels weird. We've been focusing on England for so long now, and now I think I saw the players back in training today wearing some questionable new training gear. I thought it was quite nice, to be fair, but I know that it's going to be like a Jaffa Cake kit conundrum again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's weird to go from England back to club football, but I'm so looking forward to the new season. It's going to be great. Need to pull our finger out a little bit in the transfer market. I've seen Giles getting some stick, as he always does, but no new signings for Brentford yet. Obviously Thiago's coming, but we'll keep you covered across anything that happens Brentford related between now and the 19th of August or the 18th of August, I want to say, against Palace at home, live on Sky. It's a weird one to be live on Sky, but yeah, we'll keep you covered across. So remember to drop a comment down below with any thoughts about England and Brentford in the meantime. Subscribe to the YouTube and Spotify channels, and also give us a follow on our socials. Boys, it was not to be. It really wasn't to be, but we will go again. Thank you for the England coverage.
Up the bees.
Up the bees.
England.
Yes, we're back to up the bees.
Okay.